Hi, everybody. I am Holly Celiano, and I have my special guest on today, Rob Cunningham. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you for having me, Holly. It's a pleasure to have my debut interview with you on the 17th of November.
Yes, yes. So, for those that are not familiar with you, I'm going to read a little bio so we can introduce you. So, welcome to KUWL, a passion project launched in December 2022. Born from a spirit of curiosity, my thirst for truth and disdain for false narratives, I question, research, analyze, interview, educate, and opine on many issues. KUWL is an acronym for knowledge, understanding, wisdom, and life experience to the fullest. My purpose is to leverage my experience, insights, discernment, and vast network of remarkable friends to bring you as much value as possible. My personal background includes business degree in management information systems, USAF active duty as an instructor pilot with combat experience and top secret security clearance. Ooh. 2 years as major airline pilot before unceremoniously being furloughed, 20 years in investment mortgage banking, and more than 20 years owning and supporting a national leadership and sales development company. My passions include faith, family history, private equity, venture philanthropy, Georgia Bulldog football, and fly fishing. And my amazing bride is my greatest treasure in the world. That's wonderful. Well, welcome.
Oh, thank you.
So we were talking a little before we hit record. And so today's topic, I was like, what do you want to talk about? And then you start going off on this wonderful thing. I'm like, we need to hit record.
Oh,
So let's go into a little bit what we were talking before we hit record, because that ties in with this whole new financial system and where we're headed and how you see this being biblical. And we are deconstructing the old financial system. It's being done systematically, and a new one's being built brick by brick in its place. So I'll turn it over to you, Rob.
wow. Well, thank you, Holly. And again, I'm just humble and grateful to be on your show. I've heard such awesome things about you, and I've seen 3 or 4 of your past videos. I apologize, I've not seen more, but they were all superb. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Um, well, I guess we'll start from the biggest picture, the highest 30 or 60 or 80,000 foot level. My general core belief is that Earth as a planet is a colony, and it was colonized and designed for a heavenly culture, and that got broken. It fell apart. We had a this this dude called Adam who didn't uh, didn't listen well and fell out of alignment and misalignment and made a few mistakes, and so we lived with the Cain and Abel and the fables that happened since then, and so we had to try to rectify that situation, and we had this beautiful man that came in, God in the flesh, and paid the price and reconciled. And Adam 2.0 did everything that Adam 1.0 was supposed to do. And because Adam 2.0 did what he did, he created a whole new species, Adam 3.0, which is you and me. Because no one before that time ever had the insight, knowledge, testimony, teachings, example, witness of all the things that we were supposed to do, with a deep understanding of what our adversary was going to tempt us to do. So here we are today. We can't serve two masters. We simply can't. We can serve the master that created us, or the master that wants to, you know, give the middle finger to the creator and destroy everything that the creator created. So at the end of the day, the fork in the road is, you know, who am I? Whose am I? Who do we serve? And how did this joint get put together? And if it's, if we're in a NGO cartel run by central bankers, and they're operating out of the city state known as the District of Columbia, and they're making rules up and printing money out of thin air with usury business practices and funny money, and wars for profit, and we really can't elect any of them, and yet they set all the rules and court systems and election systems in our place. How the hell do we get out of that jail cell? How the hell do we move on and get our organic constitution back unless we completely implode their monetary cartel? And that's why this man came down an escalator 10 years ago, I believe, to take the head off of Goliath, put a sword in his chest, and set God's people free. And the folks that don't understand what's really going on in the world at the level that it's happening, that the central banking cartel that runs this world is being dethroned and power is being sent back to we the people, then they're going to be confused, angry, bitter, divided, arrogant, toxic. We're going to be called everything in the world but a son and a daughter of God. And they can't tell you what's going on, but they can tell you that you and I are just clueless, right? They don't know what's happening, but we're stupid.
Yeah.
So, everything under that umbrella, if you will, Holly, I don't sleep much. I just have a fascination for understanding the why, the laws and the principles behind everything, how we got here, and how this team of professionals, and if anybody thinks it's one man, Donald Trump, they've lost their mind. Okay, this is a orchestrated global operation of people that are freeing humanity from the captivity of cartel bankers.
Right. And
It
Donald Trump is just the face of it.
Donald
But
Trump is like, I like to say Donald Trump is like one badass F-15 pilot or F-16 pilot. He didn't build the jet. He didn't build the engines. He didn't build and pave the runway, even though he probably could have. He can fly the hell out of that jet. Okay. But it takes a base commander. It takes mechanics. It takes air traffic controllers. It takes, everybody in the world to make sorties and missions and fighter pilots be successful.
right.
And he is a badass. But to focus all of our time and attention on one guy and not see what's happening with the BRICS nations and what's happening with, cartels all over the world and what's happening with gold and money and sovereign sound money in 195 countries is to miss the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly. Well, there are a lot of people that have Trump derangement syndrome. They don't like him. It's just because they don't know what you and I know. They're not dialed in. So they listen to mainstream media and they believe the rhetoric that's being told. And they don't see, they don't even realize that we've been enslaved by this banking system. And it takes somebody like Donald Trump to come out and slay it and destroy it and put a sovereign new system in place that sets humanity free.
amen. It absolutely does. And I love to point out the historical proof and the evidence of all of this and why he's doing it legally and lawfully and spiritually and biblically. I mean, there was a covenant between God and Abraham, right? That there was a contract, an agreement, mutual consent for, him to, he said he'd bless the world and his people if Abraham followed him in covenant, right? And so we wrote a covenant to God in 1776. 56 guys signed a piece of paper that said, we recognize that every one of our rights come from you, God. Unalienable. We don't need to ask for permission. We don't need a driver's license. We don't need a license to cut hair. You cannot lien my life, my labor, my property. If I trade goats for pigs or eggs for haircuts, you have no first claim right on my property. Unalienable means unalienable. Okay. That all changed in 1913 with the central bank and an IRS. But on that document, people don't realize, or maybe they weren't taught this, that we didn't have a constitution until 11 years after the Declaration of Independence was signed. In that Declaration of Independence is a clause that says, if at any time the government becomes destructive to these unalienable rights and attacks or comes works against the freedoms and unalienable rights of we the people, we have the right to set that government aside and start over, start anew. Well, the only law in the land, Holly, in 1776 was the Army, Navy, and the Marines. That was the Uniform Code of Military Justice that gave our president and commander in chief the right to take away a foreign destructive NGO government, set it aside, and then let we the people start over with a new constitutional republic. So it had to be the military. It is the military. It is military intelligence working with our commander in chief under the only lawful authority that was signed on the day our nation's birth certificate was signed, giving the commander in chief and the military the right to dismiss hostile actors that have enslaved us. So if people don't if they don't connect those dots,
Right.
that he has lawful constitutional authority with the help of the military to get rid of hostile infiltrators in non-governmental organizations and City of London bankers and Vatican City, whatever, and anyone else that's operating in that District of Columbia, which is a city state unto itself, that's really unaccountable. It's not part of our Constitution. We don't understand what's happened to us and what he's trying to do to set us free, then they're going to hate Trump until they take their last breath.
Exactly. And that's the problem. They don't understand our history, where we came from, and how we got to where we are, that this is unlawful. What's been going on is unlawful. And they're bringing us back to the original part of our history being created.
Our original covenant with
Yes.
God.
Yeah. Because it is being done by the letter of the law.
Amen. Amen.
And that people don't understand. They think what we have now is the law, and then Trump is undoing everything that's lawful. Well, that's not true. That's where they're missing the boat.
They've missed about 1,000 boats. I mean, when you think about the City of London, which is the Federal Reserve is not federal, there are no reserves, and the City of London is controlling our monetary system. And you think about what does Bar Association mean? British Accreditation Registry. Why would the British Accreditation Registry type system run the American judicial system? Why do we have British influence over our money and our laws, and we think we're free?
Right. So we were never free when we thought we were free from Britain at all.
Correct.
So our whole history, the true history, really needs to be shown to the people so they have an understanding of where we really were and how we got to where we are and why this is all being undone and how enslaved we've been.
Well, and think about this, Holly. Think about how a person that very well-intentioned person or people that may not understand where we are and what's going on in the world would see, oh, wow, this is, I don't know about these digital assets and I don't know about all this crypto stuff. It sounds like the mark of the beast to me, and I'm like, we're getting out of the beast system. We have been in slavery and in captivity since at least the War of 1812. We didn't win that war. We were encapsulated. We had, as Lincoln called them, he called them agents, basically foreign agents that infiltrated our nation and began to have influence and control and rule over all the different agencies within our federal government. And he knew it. They killed Lincoln because he started these things called greenbacks. It wasn't over slavery. It was greenbacks. It was messing with their monetary system, right? And on this Saturday is the anniversary 62 years ago when they put a bullet in President Kennedy's head because of Executive Order 11110, and he tried to create silverback dollars. And when we have this switch over, it's not just a ceremonial coincidental date on the 22nd. I think it's a calm and a middle finger to the people that killed JFK.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. So you talked about cryptos. Let's talk about that. Where do you see XRP primarily in play with this new financial system?
It is everything. It is the system. It is the heartbeat. It is the red blood cells of the bloodstream of currency that's going to fly around the world. It's going to be that independent, neutral agent of math that allows settlement to take place the world over. We're not just, Holly, flipping over the money changer tables in America. We're doing it in 195 countries. And if we want to right side up the money changer tables in 195 countries, then we have the level playing field and we have to have a level, neutral, independent monetary system where money and currency can flow like the speed of light. And I believe we have a divine ledger. And when I say divine, I call it divine ledger because math is divine. Math is from God. Math is a science, a perfect science of God. It's one of the, energy, vibration, frequency, harmony, math. Man did not create math. It's a law given to man. So math is perfect.
Yeah,
So when perfect mathematical equations are perfectly ledgered by a perfect scribe, which is an XRP token, between any two parties anywhere in the world, and that transaction is mathematically verified first, then publicly witnessed and written on the record and settled. And in 1,000 years from now, people can go and inspect the record. So every part of it, from verifying that Holly is Holly and Rob is Rob, and I've got $100 and you need $100, and I sent from my wallet to you, verification, 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 validation, transfer, settlement, done. On the ledger forever, it's there. It's an immutable recording engine of truth expressed by math, which is created by God. There is no middleman. There's no banker's fee. There's no 6% loss rate. I'm not sure if that's Holly or somebody just impersonating Holly. So I'm going to go ahead and send the money. And I got an 80% feeling that transaction was valid. So let's go ahead and attest to it on the record under oath that actually did happen. That mathematical equation, 9,000, 10,000, come see, come saw. Just put a number down close. And no, you can't cook the books. You can't have 17 different sets of records. You can't invent the math. In God we trust, and everybody else that breathes oxygen gets verified.
I love it.
That is the only way to level the playing field, disincentivize wars for profit, get rid of central banking middlemen that basically have every agenda in the world other than honesty, to let us keep our property and share our property, go back to a barter type system, go back to do whatever God has purposed us to do with the rights and talents and properties that we have, with no middleman permission slip required.
Yeah,
And this system of the XRP ledger and the XRP token and mutual consent between nations, tariff agreements, trade agreements, mutual consents and contracts, the BRICS agreements. If the highest moral law in the land, Holly, is mutual consent. If I say yes and you say yes, it's done, over. Don't need a barter, don't need a middleman, don't need a regulator. And so what happened when we had the mutual consent between the Treasury and we, the people, is this third party interloper came in and put themselves in between and made it not mutual consent anymore. It became trilateral skullduggery. It became a hidden hand with usury and debasement and inflation and fees and thefts. And oh, well, you're going to get that $20 bill in your pocket. So since you've been using that, Holly, the IRS and the income tax and all the other stuff the deep state writes on the books, you've consented to that too. Whether you know it or not, whether you signed anything, we didn't even really fully disclose it to you, but you used our $20 bill, so all these other rules come with it. That's not mutual consent. That's deception. That's fraud. And if people try to get us to do things that we don't want to do through coercion or deception or secrecy, that is not mutual consent. So we've got to get back to two-party consent where bartering works, trade works, income taxes. Nobody is entitled to my short-term, long-term property gains, ad valorem, income, inheritance, whatever happens in my life. There should be no claimant out there going, up, first 30% of that's mine. No, it's not. You didn't create anything. Governments don't create anything. They're supposed to steward what they're supposed to steward. They don't create jack poop. And if we look, my people are destroyed for their lack of knowledge.
Correct.
Not their lack of hope, praying, groupthink, hearsay, mama said, school told me, media reported, I feel, I hope, I think, I believe. You can do all of those things you want to, but we're destroyed by whether we know absolute facts or not.
Correct.
Knowledge is what kills us. And a lack of knowledge is also called ignorance.
Yes.
That doesn't mean stupid, okay? I'm an ignorant heart surgeon. You don't want me anywhere near a scalpel. Okay. You don't want me anywhere near cutting your hair either because you don't want any of that. All right. None of that. I'm a stupid ass hairdresser. Okay. Or ignorant. Doesn't mean I'm stupid. It just means I don't have any idea about that field of endeavor. How many people are ignorant of laws and principle and scripture and history and constitution and law and the poisons in our food and the poisons the white lab coats give us, and the poisons of culture and the poisons of media and just the poisons in society. How many of us have no friggin' idea, but they can give you every statistic on every baseball game ever played?
Exactly. Which isn't going to help you. Not going to get you anywhere.
Take that to the bank.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that is true. We have been kept very ignorant. They have kept us in the dark deliberately, because if you do have knowledge and you have a movement like Trump that's educating us and it's in our face and in all these other back channels other than mainstream media, we're researching. We're the little digital warriors that are out there finding information and piecing it together and finding the truth, what they wanted us not to ever know. Because, like you said, with
Serving,
knowledge comes power.
and we're serving our fellow man humbly because you know what? We want people to know this. We're not forcing anyone to it. We're not going to put them in a headlock, sprinkle holy water on their head and beat them up and cut them if they don't believe us. But we're going to fearlessly take the slings and arrows on a minor scale, tell people what we think is happening, not take the Fauci ouchie, not wear the stupid band-aid on the mouth, and then take whatever they want to call us because our principles and values are more important than groupthink and consensus.
Right. So
Or fear.
let's go back to the cryptocurrencies. I'm sure you're familiar with the Clarity Act that's going to make the cryptos transparent and have set rules so there won't be any of this nonsense going on in the banking world that our generation has lived through, where they keep your money on books and wait 5, 10 days before they'll send it. So they're trading and making money on your money. It's done instantly. So that Clarity Act is before Senate. I read that Trump wants that put out before Thanksgiving or passed. Do you have any add to that?
Yes, I do, and I think it's people need to understand we're transitioning from a cartel to a banking system. What we've had before has never been anything that close to honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's been fraud from top to bottom, and it's been a stacked deck. So, what do people that operate in the dark need. They need darkness. They need secrecy. They need uninformed people. They need stupidity. They need ignorance. They need to look the other way. Just they need all kinds of opaqueness. Well, this Saturday is the ISO 20022 one-day cutover date, which requires, absolute transparency. And what that means in the real world is that every single penny that ever moves into or out of the government can be tracked like with a Doge, USB stick. We the people will be able to hold accountable every single penny that goes in and out of the stewards, not the masters, not the kings, but those that are supposed to honestly steward our government per our Constitution and Declaration. Um, the the thing that I think is very important, Holly, is one of the reasons we've seen a year of good news on XRP and then XRP go up and then go down and get stagnant. We'll have 8 positive reports in 8 days in a row, and it'll go down 12%. Is we have this invisible hand still at play in the markets. It's called wash trading. Okay. And wash trading has been illegal in the stock market since like 1936. And for the average person that doesn't know what that is, it's two parties can get together, shake hands, create fake order books. Looks like a bunch of people are going to buy and a bunch of people are going to sell. And folks that are looking at the markets can look at it and they can get all excited that, oh my God, look at all these people that want to buy XYZ. And then at the end of the day, they can drive the stock up and they can drive the stock down. The stock can close within $1 from 50 to 90 to 32 to 50, right? And the only people that make money are the big actors that are in cahoots, whipsawing everybody around and agreeing to go have a martini and a cigar at the end of the day, and with their pockets filled, but all the dupes who thought they were working with an honest money system got their rear end handed to them, right? So that can still happen in crypto because we don't have any legislation still. All we have is the Genius Act. We don't have the Clarity Act or the Market Structure Act that makes that a felony and makes it illegal. What happens is those that try to conduct wash trading after the Clarity Act is signed will lose their license and never be able to be in the business ever again. It will be a felony and they'll be shut down, and they'll have AI and Space Force and every kind of Starlink satellite bot on planet Earth watching every move they make 24/7. So if 50 orders show up and 49 orders disappear within 30 seconds of each other, they're busted. They're done. They will lose their license and they will not be able to operate. So if we get the ISO switchover on Saturday without the Clarity Act, that will enable wash trading to happen at God mode. Because people will say, oh, it's all protected now. It's all regulated, international standards, and look at all of the new clarity. And they have to, yeah, no, there'll be a veneer of legitimacy on top of cryptos, but still no legislation. And we will see warp speed wash trading, which will not be good. And the good news is, Holly, I don't think that's going to happen because 5 days before Thanksgiving, the powers that be that got us to where we are today are going to let that happen. I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think.
So you
I,
see,
I think we'll see the Clarity Act signed before the 22nd. Actually, in the last 2 hours, I may have shared this with you. An article just came out that said they're already looking at the Clarity Act. They're hoping to get it signed before Christmas, but maybe even before the 18th, which they start back on tomorrow. So maybe even we'll get a coincidental signature before ISO, wink, wink. There might just be a little
there
smooth
might.
transition. Then, I mean, can you imagine the toxicity of the "I told you so" crowd this Thanksgiving if they switch over, but wash trading goes berserk,
Right.
and XRP goes to $9 and to 19 cents and everywhere in between. I mean, it would be
It would defeat the whole purpose of what they want to do.
the best. That's exactly right. So I do believe we have to have that structure in place.
Well, that's great news. And
It's,
that's just Saturday.
it's,
Today's
it's
Monday.
conjecture. It's discernment and conjecture. I'm not read into the script. I'm not I don't have a top secret clearance anymore,
Oh,
and
yes, you do.
no,
I read it.
nobody calls me about anything. It's just me and God trying to figure it out, you know?
Well, that's exciting. I mean, that's really going to pave the way for our new financial system, and it's built on solid, firm ground that is transparent with rules and cut out all the crap that's been going on with these gangster banksters for decades.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen. Think about the perfect pairing. If you, it's like a perfect pairing of wine and steak or wine and cheese. You have perfect mathematics and perfect transparency. Now everybody can see and make absolutely so. Who is going to take care that we have a perfect ledger, a perfect scribe that writes on that ledger, and perfect transparency to make sure nobody's messing with the ledger or the scribing? I wonder what kind of group of guardians would want to make certain that there was fidelity in the mathematical system so that the ledger was perfect and the recording. Oh, the Space Force Guardians. I'm sure that name is just a coincidence too, don't you think, Holly?
oh, I'm sure it is.
You know, at the end of the day, this XRP ledger, Holly, I believe is going to be what's considered a SIFI. And in military terms, a SIFI means a strategically important financial infrastructure. Okay. And the military has a role in maintaining the infrastructures of significant national importance and national security are protected. I mean, think about it. If we didn't have a banking system, we didn't have an economy, we couldn't pay our troops. We can't pay our troops. We don't have an army. We don't have a national defense, and we're taken over. So having a monetary system, just like having a air traffic control system or a highway system or a telecommunications system, is necessary not only for economy but for national security. So if we're going to have a brand new digital global monetary system, I do believe, you know, President Trump has said he wants America to be the crypto capital of the world. And he wants the digital dollar, which will be the RLUSD, to represent that treasury backed digital dollar in the crypto capital of the world.
Right,
Well, with great wealth comes great responsibility. So the crypto capital of the world is going to have to defend the crypto ledger of the world, which is the XRPL. So I consider the XRPL as a global SIFI, and therefore the United States Space Force is responsible for defending that global SIFI so that we can have peace on earth and not war for profit. And the entire monetary system works as it's designed to work, with one big level playing field across 195 countries. And everybody is subjected to the same set of math, the same set of ledgering, the same collateral behind a stable coin, the same amount of currency in circulation based on GDP and people and collateral. All of these ratios and all of these variables that make an apple and a 20 a 20 and a title a title, you know, and a ledger entry. We can't have 195 different definitions for stablecoin.
right.
And Apple can have a stable coin, and Argentina can have a stable coin, and America and Azerbaijan. We can all have a stable coin, but you know, they have to be the same exact. Otherwise, I'm trading something that's worth, you know, 20 ounces of gold, and you're trading something that's worth 20 ounces of silver. Or one's just ink on paper with Nancy Pelosi's promise behind it, and this one's got gold behind it. I mean, why would nations want to? How do you do trade agreements and how do you do tariffs when you're swapping value back and forth, and yet one person can double increase their currency in circulation and make their currency value be worth half of what it was 20 minutes after you signed the agreement? Now I'm giving you all these Boeing jets, but you're giving me something that's worth half of what we agreed to.
Well, that's where Trump had said he's leveling the playing field.
And he's
Oh,
getting rid of the currency manipulation the world
correct.
of.
Absolutely.
That's part
So
of him.
let's go to XRP because people have been writing me. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. It's, down, 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 and then it goes up a little. So When do you see the projected rate of XRP going to, double digits or more? Do you see that happening when the Clarity Act is signed and the final piece of the ISO 20022 is in place?
I do. I absolutely do. And I think I look at this, Holly, from a rose-colored glasses standpoint, in that here we are still today. I mean, I've been in XRP since early 2020. Okay. And we saw what happened when Trump got elected. It went up 600%. Right. I mean, it went from 50 cents to 350 or whatever it went to, 360. Now it's at 220 or wherever it is right now. It's being manipulated, it's being suppressed, it's also being acquired. To put things in perspective, Holly, we've heard about all the ETFs and ETPs and XRP and what it's going to do. We had an XRP ETF last week, which became the number one highest performing ETF out of 900, the last 900. It had $58 million in inflows in day one. The one prior that was higher was 57. It was just the previous high one was a Celiano ETF with 57 million in inflows. Okay. What we have now, I think today's day 3 or 4 of trading in this Canary Capital XRP spot ETF, and we probably have close to $500 million in that fund already. And it is a very small, if you will, in comparison, ETF. Tomorrow we have a Franklin Templeton ETF going live. Franklin Templeton has 1,800 times more assets under management than Canary Capital. Just to give you an idea of its network, its size, its mutual fund world, its retail and institutional financial advisors that have clients and customers that are corporates and conglomerates and high net worth individuals that want as much XRP as they can get their hands on, but they don't want the cold wallets. They don't want the storage. They don't want to figure out how to set up an account at Kraken or whatever. But these are people that want access to XRP without all the fuss and the muss. So you now have I was at Ripple Swell in New York City last week, and a dear friend of mine, we'll just say she works in compliance at a top 5 company. Holly, there are over, on the books of exchanges the world over, there are over 8,000 ETFs and ETPs ready for blockchain and crypto and XRP like purchase. 8,000. The Clarity Act is the seminal checker flag or green flag to let people start going full bore, board of directors, thumbs up, treasury stocks, institutions. When there is legal clarity, you don't want to be in front of that tsunami.
Right.
You don't want to be short the tsunami. Let's put it that way. So other elements, a couple of other things. I joke about this all the time, but how long did it take Gavin Newsom to clean up San Francisco when President Xi was come to visit? Like 3 days?
Yeah, a couple days.
Couple of days, yeah. Well, President Trump and his beautiful wife were inviting the entire world to visit us for 12 months. What do you think he wants America to look like when everybody comes to visit the States?
Shiny, a real shiny penny.
Real shiny pen. And we're going to have 2 quarters, 6 months in 2026 before the 4th of July celebration of 2026. We're going to have just 2 quarters to start filling this brand new swimming pool up with brand new sound money and brand new collateral and brand new asset-backed treasuries, and get rid of all of this floating crap from the Federal Reserve, these debt notes, this junk currency, these junk rules. We are going to have to circulate and revitalize the true treasury-based economy and not the corrupt Federal Reserve system. And we're going to have about 2 quarters to do it before the big gala event. And let me finish it up here and I'll land my plane. President Trump has said there's 3 major things that he's really looking forward to next year. One is the World Cup. One is the Olympics. but most importantly is the America 250 celebration, which is a nationwide celebratory jubilee, if you will, of all things Americana and what we stand for and represent. Do you happen to know who the chairman of America 250 is?
No.
Her name is Rosie Rios.
Oh,
She used to be the Treasury Secretary for the United States, who was in charge, coincidentally, of making the brand new currency,
right,
designing it, the 20s and the fives and the tens and the hundreds and the 50s and the one, all of that. Oh, one other total coincidence. Okay. She happens to sit on the board of Ripple.
right,
So all of these coincidences, 2 quarters to go before the 250, and President Trump doesn't really care what the history books are going to say about him, does he? On the 250th year of America's anniversary? No, he could care less if the economy's okay, the how if America's kind of clean, no. You you have to connect all the dots to understand what's about to happen in 6 weeks for the next 12 months, who President Trump is, how we got to where we are, how close we are to swapping out the cartel system and cranking the engine on the brand new republic monetary system, and the centricity of XRP and all of this, not in America, but in all 195 nations. The 195 nations have agreed. I might not trust. I ain't This world reserve currency is not going to China. It's not going to Russia. It's not going to Brazil. America's not keeping it. It's going to a decentralized mathematical based bridge token that everyone can verify and everyone can trust. We can trust math, but we don't trust anybody else or any other nation or any other conglomerate. So this monetary system is going to be a mathematical trust based system that's not biased or agendaed or political. It's math.
right,
And everybody in the world can agree that if you can see the math and calculate the math and verify the math is the math. So who benefits then from banker wars? Nope, nobody. Nobody.
oh,
If people, I just my wish for the world is this Christmas people understood this story.
yes. It is a story long in the making. And I've said this many times. There are so many unknown heroes behind the scenes working to put this together that
Amen.
have lost their lives over this that you'll never know about, never, never know what was done decades and decades and decades to put this in place of countless unsung heroes.
What do the scriptures say about a person that's willing to lay down their life for another? No greater love than a man that's willing to
Yes.
lay down their lives for those, especially those they'll never meet and don't know, have never met in their entire life. So there are things, just a couple things more important than a bank account and a net worth and the number of likes and the number of clicks and fame and fortune and sex, drugs, and rock and roll. There's a few things more important than that. So I've been told.
Right. I have one last question before we end today. So we had the government shutdown, as you know, for 43 days. What do you think was going on behind the scenes? Why that was being shut down? You think we have a new government?
I do. I think we have a lot of things that needed 30 days to pass in order to have the ability to get rid of some things that would never boomerang back, that would never whipsaw back. I think we had a lot of replacing to do, a lot of adjudicating to do, a lot of. Um, I still can't. We've only had two Marines ever in the history of the United States serve over the entire Uniform Code of Military Justice and the tribunal court system. The 2,500 JAGs that basically adjudicate treason and crimes against humanity and sedition and all the things that we know have been taking place for a very, very, very long time. Well, remember on the end of September 30th, President Trump and Mr. Pete had everybody come in to Guantanamo Bay and have a little sit down and chit chat. It wasn't just about the chit chat. It was about retaking the oath or not taking the oath or dealing with what was necessary. But in September 2025, President Trump appointed a real badass Marine to be in charge of Guantanamo Bay and tribunals and the JAGs and all of the military that needs to take care of what I'm hearing is over 600,000 sealed indictments. And those are not indictments that take place in your Fannie Willis courthouse.
Right.
You know, they don't go to Letitia James so they can grandstand and let CNN tell us what we should think about the case. You know, they happen in about 20 minutes to 3 days max, and there ain't no appeal. And if you don't play ball 100% and you hold anything back and you lie or you found to be wanting in your testimony, there's a guillotine waiting for you. It's real quick, it's real fast. They ain't got time to play games. And they already know the answers before they ask you the damn questions. So you get one chance and one chance only to, if you want to save your life and live, give us every single thing you know and play ball with us, or you make the choice.
Right.
And when you're in war, and we've been in a fifth generation unconventional warfare for a very long time, those that decided to commit treason have lost their right to exit themselves out of these tribunal processes.
Right.
And again, that goes back to 65% of Americans can't name the three branches of government. They're certainly not going to be able to tell you about the intricacies of the UCMJ.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure you've seen there's a guy that goes around asking questions. Can you tell me, what's the capital of, you know, I don't know, whatever country.
Florida.
They like say the dumbest thing, or how many continents are there? Or what continent is, Africa in? Or, just stupid things. They're like,
What's the favorite state you've ever been to? Los Angeles.
I mean, it's like we are so dumbed down.
Yeah.
It's really sad. We need to go back and re-educate really about our Constitution and the Bill of Rights and what our founding fathers put in place, all of that stuff that's really just been taken out of our educational system.
Holly, every single thing in our Constitution and every single thing in our Declaration is based on immutable, indivisible, and timeless laws. And they go back even a little bit further than 1776. You know, they go back to biblical scripture and
Mhm.
unalienable rights and universal laws and timeless laws. And so there's a massive financial and control incentive to make people stupid.
Right,
And therefore we get a Department of Education.
right.
And it's in their best interest to teach us about everything but what we need to know. So
Well,
that we
it made the kids a really good test taker because it's all about these tests.
they're growing useless idiots.
Yeah.
And they are incentivized to do so because they get free labor. Because we can work our butts off, and all they got to do is hit enter on a keyboard and print $4 trillion and pay us with funny money,
Mhm.
right? So they really don't respect us or value us because they know they can give us whatever number they need to give us, but there's no backing behind the paper. They just printed it out of thin air.
Right,
So we're working our tail off 60, 70, 80 hours a week, foregoing our family and running after counterfeit money that they printed out of thin air. And then they give us a gold watch after 30 years.
right. If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, if you even get to work 30 years, right? I
They
mean,
might not give that to you anymore.
the whole thing is so upside down, ass backwards. And when the stories are told and the movies are published, as the intel drops say, there's probably only between 3 and 6% of the people that are so terminally brain dead stupid they won't be able to accept the truth and maybe humble themselves a little bit and admit they got it wrong.
Right,
I'm going to say a good 90% plus, 90 to 93% of the people are going to be able to unfortunately hang their head, and a lot of them are going to feel ashamed at what buttheads they were
right,
to their family, their friends, their neighbors, and everybody else, thinking that they had it all figured out and that we were the idiots. They're gonna sooner or later figure out it wasn't quite the way they thought it was going down.
Right. Well, Rob, do you have any final parting words before we end today's segment?
Two words: fear not. Fear not. 365 times we were admonished to fear not or be not afraid. And, you know, one of our famous politicians said the only thing to fear is fear itself. And the only power the other side has is to scare the crap out of us with they make us stupid, they make us ignorant, they get us into groupthink, and then they threaten to take our stuff away, if we don't fall in line and kiss the ring. So the whole thing is a mirrored funhouse. If we realize that that mirrored funhouse is being closed up and put out of business, and there's a new sheriff in town and a whole brand new community that's about to be built up again, and we get to start over, then you'd be so happy you wouldn't be able to see straight. But people just have to get out of their own rage and anger and ego and self-centeredness and closed-mindedness and take a breath, ask what's going on, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. And then the old adage that we got to walk by faith, not by sight. We learn a whole lot more by what we don't see
Yes.
versus what we do see.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what was John F. Kennedy's famous saying, ask what not you can do for your country, but what I know I'm messing that
Know
up.
what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Correct.
Right. And the other thing that he said too, Holly, that was so critically important was to not live by covet means, which means quit doing the comparison thing,
Mhm.
looking at everybody else's pocket. Who's got a nicer car? Who makes more money? Who goes on more vacation? That's not fair. You go into this, before you know it, you're in perpetual victim class mode.
Right.
And all you're doing, comparison becomes your cardio, and everybody's looking at who's got more and why didn't I get it? And it must be my gender, it must be my religion, it must be my skin color, it must be, my sexual orientation. I don't know, but life isn't fair. But all I know is I hate everybody.
Right.
Well, that's going to serve you real well, isn't it?
Well,
Just fear
it's
not.
lack mentality, really. People walk around in lack mentality, and that can be very debilitating.
Yeah, yes, it can.
Yeah.
It absolutely can. So, look, we're about to go through the greatest, people say the greatest transfer of wealth in human history, and I agree with that 1,000%. But, Holly, I think we need to understand the difference between wealth and riches. We're about to go through the greatest spiritual awakening, and divine wisdom is the most valuable commodity ever created. Divine wisdom in relationship with God is a gazillion times better than $10 million in the bank. I mean, if people understood and rightly defined wealth versus riches, you get the wealth right, the riches will just be a byproduct.
Right.
If all you do is care about the riches and you don't have the wealth, you can't buy enough Lamborghinis.
Right. I agree. But then when you get to that place, it's like, do I really want a Lamborghini? No.
Who am I trying to impress? Who
Right.
do I give
Because
a
I
damn?
don't need that.
Wife and my family. You know what? I have 2 minutes. I have to be on another phone
Yeah.
call. So I've enjoyed every second of this, Holly. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. We'll have you back on again.
God bless to you. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You too.